we're rolling. I'll try to keep track of the chat. Um, Forgive me if I don't, but I'll try. We are looking at photos from this is Tuesday, the 22nd, a couple days before burn, or Sunday the 22nd, a couple days before burn. And this is just, I went out to Stack to try and get a couple photos of the outhouse before it went up on Stack. And what we do is we started doing this in 2017, 2018 maybe, where the front pocket of the year night shirts, the back has got the last shift photo in the front. We started doing the outhouse, and so I try to get that photo a little bit early, or as soon as I can, and get that sent in. So that's what I was trying to do. I ended up having to do it again. This didn't work. Um, this was another cool. We've seen this a few times um, throughout the season. Um, this is there's my little guy. This kid eats this stuff up. Um, so again, I end up doing a lot of stuff that's just for me to remember. Um, for me to remember later down the road. This little man was eating it up. So there's a bunch of those. It's just fun to see the kids having fun. And, there's a lot of time that's spent out there. I spend a whole heck of a lot of time out there. And, sometimes most of the times the kids can't come. And they just, where are you going? I'm going to Bonfire. And it's nice when I can bring them out there and let them enjoy a little bit of what I spend so much time around, and let them see what it is that's got me up late at night, and to watch them enjoy it. It's just really cool for me. And one day we'll look back at those. I'm the type that's gonna let my kids do whatever it is that they're gonna do, whatever it is they decide they're into. Um, I know this might seem like some kind of sacrilege, but we're not gonna. We don't teach our kids to war hymn. If they pick it up, then they pick it up. And it's that kind of thing. And I hear that a lot from. And what I'm doing now, I'm gonna pull up. We're gonna do another search here on the gallery. Um, I'm gonna show you an example of some of what can happen. I believe it was Bonfire 2000. It was 2014, I believe. There it is. That's the one. That's the one right here. Some of the digressions we go on, right? So I'm pulling up. This is Father Son cut from Bonfire 2014, and this has got the headline photo for this is a great Aggie family. Uh, Jim McTasney was head stack of Bonfire 92, and there's his boy River, who would go on to become a brown pot for Bonfire. River describes it the same way. You hear a lot of older folks, old ags, describe their experience, and students that come to Bonfire. My parents never told me I had to do it, and they might not even told me a whole bunch about it, but I knew it was there, and I saw it, and they let me come to it. And it certainly worked out for River, and maybe one day it'll work out for this little guy. Maybe not. We'll see. But for the time being, he's loving it, and he's loving stuff like this, the tractors. So this is just getting site ready. You'll notice the perimeter poles are already down. This is really a cool look that I enjoy. Is Stack just completely by itself. The rope's gone. It just finally, it's just it's everything that everybody's been working on without anything near it. So when I'm fortunate enough, when the timing is right, things get really busy right after last shift, and I don't always have the time to come out and look at Bonfire this way. Um, Before we move into burn night and all the other things that go on before then. So I really enjoy when I have the opportunity to come out and get a picture of stack like this. Um, this is again, little helper. It's sanding an axe handle, so getting that prepped up. Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, man. He was so excited to help with that. Getting dress handles ready. These are they're getting ready to pass these down to next year's red pots, and he likes knots, so he's helping. Good for him. Um, so I promise we're getting past the dad photos, and we are moving into now. I believe this is Monday, and here they are cutting down the tops of the windle stick. So this is what happens with every uh, at the end of every stack. You have the windle sticks that are sticking up. We saw those. We saw those in the bare stack photo here. You've got your windle sticks sticking out. Hey, again, outstanding job, Bonfire 2020, covering up the windle sticks like this again. Very good. The outside of third tier is outside of the windle sticks. Great work. That's an outstanding stack. Way to be. But when that's all done, you got to cut the windle sticks off. So um, they're in there getting that set up. I came back and I got the outhouse photos that I needed for the t-shirt pockets. You see this year they put a stuffed cat. They had been putting a stuffed cat here on the front of the outhouse where there used to be the skull with the horn sawed off, which 2012, was that the last year that happened? Let's see. 2012, I believe, is when it was. Maybe, no, it was 11. When did we go to the SEC? 2012, we were in the SEC. So 2011 was the last time that the outhouse had skull. There it is. This is from winter break of 2011, of Bonfire 2011. So this, you can see here, January 21st, 2012. This is what happens when there's a burn ban. You end up having to carry over into the next year. But you see what they would do here when we were still playing TU. Things got really close this year to possibly having to push back into 2021, but fortunately the right amount of rain came at the right time, and we were able to proceed and put this on top of the stack. So again, those aren't actually for those aren't going to be for any other reason than took those for the t-shirts. Here's the baby green pots working on carving greens into the green pot log. And this is kind of a cool time around stack. The baby brown pots and baby green pots are doing a lot of work getting things ready. Here's the baby brown pots hauling off a piece of the top portion of the windle stick. And now we're getting into the night of the 23rd. I like this look. This is one of the brown pots finishing up the cleanup. work on the stack there, getting red pot log up now at this point. There's the green pot log sitting there. I came out to stack early on the day of burn, so we are now officially into burn night. And I came out early that day. A lot of running around. There's always a lot of running around on the day of burn, but on this burn especially, I thought that this would be a burn that would be kind of chill, kind of relaxed. It was definitely not. But I came out to get a couple pictures for Texags to use in their promo for the live stream. And as you see, I showed up with all my camera exposures from the day before. I'm not even thinking. I just came out and just started taking pictures and wasn't paying much attention at first. So all this is overexposed because I was shooting at night, just before. Man, I was wiped this year. I was really, really wiped. I don't know what the deal was, but I was fully gassed. Here we've got the stack with the sheets on. Red pot log is secured. They got the truck here. They're getting ready to start spraying. You'll notice something different here. This is, you might notice, a bit of an extension cord situation. The generator went out, and as always, Bonfire adapts and overcomes. And so they had some baby brown pots on extension cord duty, following the truck around. And the truck, instead of being able to go circles all day, went around, and then it went back, and it went around and back without that generator working. Oh well, they got the job done. As we will see once we start seeing some of these burning stack photos. They certainly got the job done. Here we go. There's the outhouse. One of these is a decent shot. That's little fuzzy. There we go. That's better. The band, as always, builds the outhouse per tradition. I try to get all the sides of it there. So just taking a couple laps around the stack to get all of the outhouse. And this was well, you know what? Well, I'll show you. This young man was really excited to be out, and everybody was really excited to have him. So he got to come in and take a few photos in front of the bob log, and well, that was neat. Green pot set that up, made sure that happened. Yeah, that was really cool. Really, really cool. There we go. So I know that they have his contact information. I'm gonna make sure to get him one of those. Moments like that, man, just so great. Here they are, more adapting and overcoming, more commiserating. sun setting behind stack. Clay asked what my favorite part about burn was this year. I gotta be honest with you, my favorite part about burn this year was that we actually burned it. They. Um, that was my favorite part, that they were actually able to burn it. I had to pinch myself a few times walking around in there. Just couldn't believe. Just an amazing year. Um, uh, they did so much in the face of a lot of obstacles that nobody could have ever even imagined, um, and they got the job done. And as I've said before um, in previous streams, I didn't. They said they were going to do it. I believed them. I believed them 103%. But I had no idea how they were going to do it. Um, Not a doubt in my mind that it would get done, but no idea how. And they damn sure did it. We're over here at the Bob Shack doing some maintenance work. Got all the pots lined up. Definitely wanted to get one of those. This year was again. And I'm finding myself busier and busier on burn night. And this year I just felt especially busy. A lot of running around, and I really thought that this was going to be the year that I wasn't. That I could just focus more on the photos and spending time with the kids. Um, but it was a busy night. So I'm as anxious as anybody else is as to what was actually photographed here. This here is my pot. My pot is a participant. Um, Otto hates you. That's Otto was the axe that belonged to Thomas Otto Walton, and the namesake of Walton Hall. And I came into possession of that axe, and that was in 2002 um, when Walton wasn't going to get the load because there was no load. There was just going to be, we were building basically a gigantic brush fire, and so Walton didn't load, and fortunately I came into possession of that axe right about that time. Really cool coincidence, and I was able to turn that axe into a bit of a motivator and say, basically we have this axe now for a reason. We found it again for a reason, and that reason is, we got to do whatever it is that we got to do um, to to keep building Bonfire. And so we named the axe Otto, and I carried it and became the best axeman I could possibly be, and put Otto Hates You on my pot, and darned if Otto didn't turn into a thing. And now it's still a thing, and they still have Otto, and they still pass down the axe head. And it was fun. My two oldest have their own pots um, from coming out and participating and cutting under Leggett. My two youngest do not have their own pots because they can't come out and do work. So I got to do this cool thing. This is, oh man, you're gonna have to give me a second here. Um, this is, and I'm gonna message him on Facebook right freaking now. That pot there, and I'm sorry, when I switch over to another app, the image goes away. But that image that we were just looking at here, this pot here is my old roommate's. And this would be the first time that these two pots have been together for a bonfire occasion since Jeez, since 2002. So I am going to go. Again, when we do these things, I'm going through and doing what it is that I do every time anyway, and just kind of turning on the camera while I'm doing it. So this is the sort of thing that I would do if I was looking at photos. If I saw something like this, I would message Ross, and I would tell him that his old bonfire pot is on the live stream now, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get one photo out of that at least. Let me get the link to this. Thank you for your patience here for just a moment. There you go. Send him the message. Hopefully he'll get it. Ross is currently on the other side of the planet. This old Walton guy is now a chef to highfalutin Europeans. He's a private chef on the island of Mallorca. Over the course of his journey, he's toured the world on some of the world's biggest yachts as executive chef. He invented bacon marmalade 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was. You're talking about one of the best in his field, hands down. And it all started in dirty, nasty, unair-conditioned Walton Hall. And there's his pot. Anyway, thank you for your patience for that little digression. Sent Hutch a message, and hopefully he can jump on. I ran over to the other side of Stag to get this happening, which has become a thing. The Browns getting together, all the Browns who were in attendance, and getting their photo took. They were actually posing for somebody else, but I wanted to see if I could get a halfway decent one, and maybe I did. I'll mark those and come back. We got one of the seniors. You know, the lining up for family photos and everything. That there wasn't as much of that this year because the policy was the total number of people who were allowed to be out was equal to the total number of participants plus one guest each. And what that meant was they went through the whole series, and freshmen got to say how many people they were going to bring, and because it's always about the fish, and then crew chiefs, and then it worked its way through, and finally upper leadership was allowed to say how many people they were going to bring. And frankly, there was just a lot of people that would have normally been there for stuff like these family photos that were missing because the notice was too short, or people opted to stay home. So I do usually enjoy taking these family photos and these reunion type photos, but unfortunately there just wasn't a lot of that this year, which is understandable. This is good bull. There's the former junior red pots at this point. I mean, I don't know, by some definitions they're junior red pots, but they're former junior red pots. I mean, the big icing on the cake we're going to see a little bit later. I think I got a few shots of that a little bit later in the night. I did get a few shots of that last step of the transition, the taking of the pots. I'm certain I got a couple of those. There they are, finally smiling. The boys get to smile. Good for them. Most everybody on knows the drill. Junior red pots aren't allowed to smile. But if you didn't know, that's the drill. Junior red pots are not allowed to smile. And it becomes um, uh, it becomes sort of a, a hobby or a pastime or a challenge. Can you make a junior red pot crack? And these boys, they didn't crack a whole lot, and that might be because they were wearing masks the whole time. So good luck to next year's junior red pots who aren't going to have the benefit of masks, God willing. Oh, we got another message here on the chat from Joshua McMahon. Outstanding. It was an outstanding outhouse. Absolutely. You're correct. It looks beautiful up there. I don't know how far out of sync we are here on the stream and the what have you, but when you get to this, Joshua, it was an outstanding outhouse. So thank y'all for y'all's work. One of the one of the stories Josh is possibly alluding to here in the chat. I did tell those boys about the first time they put up an outhouse in 2003. We which was my gray pot fire, my first gray pot fire, and we wanted the band to do the outhouse. They wanted to do the outhouse, and so we got all that lined up. They're going to do the outhouse. Everything's cool. And then we started asking them, do you have plans or something? I mean, how is it that how are you going to know what to do? And they said, don't worry about it. You know, we got plans. We definitely got plans. And, you know, we still haven't seen the plans nor the outhouse yet. And it's just a mystery, right? Is this going to work out? And of course, we're excited because this will be the first outhouse on top of a stack since '99. And they're assuring us they have plans and yada, yada, yada. And finally, the outhouse shows up, and they damn sure had plans. They had plans for an outhouse that went on top of a 7-story tall stack. And on a stack where every log touches the ground, and again, if you're new and this is your first stream, the way Bonfire is built now, these aren't smaller logs on top of these logs. These are bigger logs inside of these logs. So even all the way to first tier at 32 foot tall, to answer Clay's question, top of the stack is 45 if you go to the top of the outhouse. But the first tier is 32 foot, and it's been 32 foot since 2003. But all of these logs touch the ground, which means that you can only build it so high. It's never going to get higher than what it is right now, which means that if you build an outhouse that's supposed to be on top of a 7-story construction, what we wound up with was a bonfire, less a bonfire with an outhouse on top and more like an outhouse with a bonfire underneath it. So fortunately, they updated their plans, and we never had to worry about that again. Now here's the brown pots lined up. Some of the brown pots with the baby brown pots behind them, standing on their log. Oh, I'm going to take a moment here to recognize this individual right here, and everybody that builds Bonfire, has built Bonfire for years, knows him, even if they don't recognize him. But this is Jim Bowes, the owner of Brazos Wi-Fi, my old gray pot buddy from back in 03 and 04. If anybody ever asked me a question, I would always pretend like I knew the answer and then turn to Jim and figure out what the answer was. So people thought I was a genius because I knew Jim. Anyway, flash forward to now, Jim has got Brazos Wi-Fi, and he's bringing high-speed fiber internet to stack site. throughout the entire season. So boys like these brown pots that basically live at stack site, the junior red pots, everybody who's out there all the time and still trying to get their way through school and take care of their assignments and everything, Jim Bowes is the one that makes it possible with that high-speed internet that keeps them connected to school and everything else in the world. Jim also provides enough bandwidth that TexAgs is able to provide the live stream in high definition from all the way out here in South Robertson County. And Jim even came out there on this night to help keep things working and without a hiccup. So so much credit to Jim Bowes and every Aggie out there who's been able to get their homework done, who's been able to get through school, stay connected to the world, the whole 9 yards. There's your man right there. And I might get in trouble for making such a big deal out of it, but wouldn't be the first time I pissed Jim off. And now we're to the reading of the last court trip. Here's a thing. Interesting anecdote. I've heard some people say, the red pots, they should memorize the last court trip. It was always memorized back when I was doing it. I always remembered them. They knew it by heart. And the fact is, they didn't. Pretty much everyone that I've talked to that has read the last court trip did not have it memorized, or if they did have it memorized, then they also had it written down somewhere just in case they forgot it when everybody was paying attention. And almost everybody ended up consulting what they had written down. I think the difference between now and then is that maybe they're not as sneaky about where they hide their notes as they used to be. There have been a few red pots that have memorized the last court trip and memorized it so well that they didn't have to consult their notes, but that's very rare. They used to hide them inside their pots. They would have it written down on their hands, any number of places. So I'm sorry, I'm going to burst a few mythologies there. The last court trip, though, it's such a significant and important moment of every bonfire, even a bonfire where, as you can see in the background here, this is the VIP area back here. This is usually filled with people, packed with people. This is the donors, the former upper leadership, the people who've helped make the night possible, and this fills up pretty tight. The same as all the way around Stack, but this was nearly completely empty, and we might see some shots from different angles here that show that there wasn't really hardly very many people out this direction either because of the COVID protocols. And anyway, just another one of the ways that you'll be able to look at these photos later and know exactly what year it was from. The year where there's hardly anybody there, that's 2020. Clay points out that there wasn't a mic. There wasn't. There is when there's a big event. One of the great things that TexAgs does that they don't have to do is in doing their live stream, they bring out all the stuff that they need to do the live stream, but they also provide the speakers, and they go and they make sure that there are speakers there, big speakers, and a microphone PA system and everything to kind of fill the whole space with music and sound and the speech and all this. But with only Pardon me. With only, I think at the end of the night there were 900 people out there on this night. With only that many people there, a microphone wasn't necessary, and we told Texags as much, and so they didn't have to go through all that trouble of getting that out there. So it was purely acoustic. I believe it was after maybe it was before. I did say a couple of words as well. There wasn't officially a Burn Night speaker here. Um, of course I don't have photos of that because I was busy. Uh, but usually there's a Burn Night speaker. Again, with everything that was going on this year, it was, I guess, more intimate than that. It was, we didn't have the Burn Night speaker going. I said a couple things just to kind of let everybody know that we were now live, and that was fun. I hadn't talked to Bonfire people and Burn Night in a few years, but the energy was uh, pretty high. I might have said a couple things that were pretty funny, as Joshua just pointed out. But we very quickly moved on to, and I'm shooting this from far away, so I knew when I was taking this shot, I wasn't going to get this shot. There's no way that was happening. I'm running around with a telephoto lens, and with a telephoto, I'm not going to be able to let as much light in. Uh, there's the trade-off with tele is that you're not going to have um, those wide open um, apertures. Like, that's not going to be available to you. Basically, layman's terms, you're not going to be able to dilate your pupils with your lens. And so when I have to zoom in real tight, there's no chance I'm getting that shot. But I don't know why. I just tried it anyway. This is one that I've come to enjoy a lot. I'm hoping that I was able to get the angle right with the fence, the way the fence was lined up this year. It was hard to do. It was hard to get that angle right. But over their back shoulder, let me see if I can bring it up a little bit. Over their back shoulder is their stack. Again, the angle was pretty funny this year, so I'm not sure that it worked out, but I'm going to go back and revisit these and see if one of these worked. I'll mark one and come back. But these are the junior red pots waiting for the torch to arrive. And again, here's a 2020 angle. In previous years, this is just a mass of people, many people deep, and they come almost down to here. I mean, this is pretty far back. But here, with only participants and their immediate family members, not near, maybe a tenth of what's usually out there. So this is, again, another one of those quintessentially 2020 moments. It's just Bonfire and the people who built it by county orders, and then everybody who's streaming it live is getting to watch. But it was surreal. I hope that I can remember what it felt like, but it was very different. Here comes Walton carrying in the torches. The yellow pot new boy holds the torch, and the others stay tight around him. And the torch is now arriving to the junior red pots. This always makes me nervous. I'm always deeply, deeply nervous that I'm going to get this right. And I think we're off to a fair start. And the light changes so much so quickly because you start with just one torch, and by the time it's made its way all the way around perimeter, because that's what they're doing. When I took this shot here, they're way over by the Aggie Bonfire trailer, and they are going to walk all the way around perimeter, come all the way back out here outside of the perimeter fence, and then come back to this pole in the corner, come along the fence here, and come back. So by the time they get to the junior red pots, that torch is pretty well dying. Um, I mean, it's got a little juice in the tank, but it's not that bright anymore. But when they get to the junior red pots, and that one's garbage. That doesn't work. But when they get to the junior red pots and they pass that torch, the light quickly changes as you see all these torches start to catch, and I'm just trying to keep up with my exposure as as the uh, uh, as the torch is passing. And this is, I've got my white balance set to auto, so it's going to try and read what white is in the moment. And so it kind of did this thing where this is not what it looked like, right? Their shirts did not look white. Uh, this is correcting so that the shirts look white, but that's not what their shirts look like. It looked like more like this. And so I see a lot in editorial photography, newspapers and whatnot. I do see a lot of them correcting the ambient reddish and orange and yellow, and correcting that quote to white, so the white shirts look white, which is interesting-ish, I guess, but it's not what it actually looked like. It actually looked like more like this, that red, orange, yellow, and that's what I try and preserve when I'm developing the photos. And so here I've started to adjust my exposure for how much light there is, and we can see the details that were getting washed out as the light was quickly pouring in, and more light as more torches caught, and I'm starting to adjust my exposure to keep from overexposing the flame. It does make everything else much darker, but I prefer it like this, and to see all that texture and depth to the torch, that's what I'm after. And now here goes the boys. This is always an angle I want to catch, as much for them as anything else, so that they can have this shot later, something for them to look back on, that moment where they walked into their junior fire. And I try and get that photo pretty quickly so that I can hurry up and get out of the way, because they're walking from that corner, that hole, to stack, to inside of perimeter, to pass their torches off. And usually there's all these people back here in the VIP area, all these people that want to get a photo of that want to have an encouraging word for them, that just want to be close to that scene again. And I try and get out of there. I try and get out from behind them when I know that I've gotten the shot that works, so that I'm not part of that moment, because this is their moment, and I want to get it for them, and I want to get it for everybody to be able to see, but then I want to get out of the way, so that this can be purely their moment, and not some schmuck behind them with a camera. Unfortunately, they left the truck here, so I was able to peel off and come around the truck. Catch them coming around the other side, and at any moment here they're going to be coming up on the seniors. And there we go, passing the torches to the seniors. There was a lot of juice in those torches. And I mean, as you can see, we got two closing their eyes. I'm liking these. I'm really happy with these. So now the trick is picking one uh, where they're not all squinting. So I'll spare you that search. There's about a dozen here of these, and I'm gonna look for one that's got all the intensity, um, and has as little uh, flinching as possible. Not to say I blame them. Gosh, that's a lot of flame. That's a fair bit of flame right there. So, um, now they begin their laps. They get lined up to begin their laps. There's the juniors getting tight. Um, there was one of my favorite uh, shots of torches. I like this one. Again, it's about that. It's about that brotherhood. It's about this, coming together after a season, and it's rough. And again, as I've said throughout the season, it's something that you committed to do, and you're not exactly sure how you're going to do it in any year, but you're damn sure not sure how you're going to do it in 2020, and you get through the other side. Always really important for me to try and get these, um, uh, these moments of, each one of them has their own specialties. Chris has got his Walton Load shirt because he spent his time at Load Site and he earned it. Jackson was out in the woods. Jacob was up at Stack Site. Chris was out in the woods. They've all got their different wheelhouses, and they spend a lot of time apart, and they spend a lot of time together. They come together. They go separate directions, just like everybody else out there. The different crews, they've all got different stuff that they're doing, and so much of that coming together at the end is captured in the juniors and seniors coming together. So. Um, it makes it kind of easy to capture that moment when it's this one group that's doing it. Um, and anyway, so that's what I was saying. One of my uh, one of my favorite sets of photos of torches actually came from last year. Now, last year was, every year is special. Last year was special. Um, see, you see here what I was talking about? How you've got these group shots and these reunion shots and these people coming together, and I usually spend a good bit of time on shots like this. And this was 2019. But we had the whole series of John Comstock bringing in the torches last year, bringing in the torch in a change. The torch was brought to the northeast corner instead of the northwest corner, and the torch was passed off to John. And John was a survivor of 99, the 13th man. Um, we almost lost John, and um, he made it, and we didn't see him for some time, and I didn't know what he thought of what was going on until 2014, when he was brought out to do an interview at with ESPN at Stack Site, And when the producer wasn't looking, I hadn't seen John in years. Um, I ran up to him without the producer looking so that I could have a conversation without cameras, and I asked him what he thought, and he said I'm home, and that was something. So when and for the 20th anniversary, when we were able to get John to get everything lined up so that John could help bring in the torch, that was a hell of a moment. And so he brought it in. Kyle Hughes, the previous year's senior head stack, helped him in. At one point, the flame was crawling way up the torch there, and Kyle reached out and grabbed it for him so that he could reposition his hand. He had here he had grabbed it a little bit farther up. So he grabbed it about halfway, and this flame started crawling up the torch. And Kyle, cool as hell, I mean, typical Kyle behavior, reached out and put his hand between John's and the flame, and held it, and just said, grab another grip. And meanwhile, it's hitting Kyle pretty good, but yeah, you wouldn't have known it. You wouldn't have known it at all. Just cool as hell. And John re-grabbed it and got the torch all the way down to the juniors, and got what might be, one of my favorite junior step-off shots of all time. With this one here. That just, that one's always got me. One of those ones you don't know if you got it until you develop it. So, again, some of the things that are similar year to year, some of the things that remind you of other things. But here they are, all the families getting lined up. They're going to do their laps. The first lap is with your mom, and the seniors and juniors take that lap together. Obviously, I'm not going to use that one, but they take that lap together with the brown pots and the green pots. And I'm gonna take a look at a couple of these. I try to get a few with just the light and mostly darkness. So I'm gonna look at some of the exposures on these and see if there's anything that works that way. And I'm not gonna take your time with playing with that. But it's there's not a whole lot of light to play with, and you don't want there to be. You want it to be as dark as possible. And so we're going to see if any of those come out in the wash. They're finishing that first lap with their moms, which means, of course, we're getting close because they're about to take a lap with their dates. With 2020, well, and whatever dates are available under the COVID apocalypse. And then they're going to take a final lap by themselves, and they're going to light it. So at this point, if you want to remind anybody or let anybody know, we're just a couple minutes away from looking at some of the final shots of the season, and burn and stack going up and the whole 9 yards. So share the link, pass it back. We're almost there. We're almost there to the beginning of Bonfire 2021. I said final shots of 2020. That's a rookie mistake. Final shots of 2020 was last shift. These are the first shots of 2021. So we're almost to the end of the first shots of 2021 is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to pass that back, There we go. Junior. Juniors. Dates getting lined up for that lap around stack. Again, not a whole lot of light. There were sometimes it works. Sometimes I'm able to get that shot, and again, jumping to a time that worked, that really, really worked, that I felt so great about. Just so freaking happy with Bonfire 2018. Yeah, I believe it was 2018. Burn night. And all of these photos, after we go through and we develop them all, pick out which ones work, they get posted to dion-c.me. And after we go through and do these reviews, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Case in point, there's some times where I go through and I review the photos, and I find photos that I want the entire world to see. And then sometimes I find photos that I want the whole world to see, but I just don't. And it was 2018, and I keep forgetting that photo was so great that I keep thinking that I shared it with everybody, and I didn't. So I don't mean to be a tease, but I didn't share this photo of Kyle Hughes was senior head stack, and here's Kyle, and he walked his lap with who is now his bride, and I managed. Sometimes it works. Sometimes there's enough light available from the torches, and they're holding it in just the right way that I can get a shot that really, really does it, and I can get enough light and I can capture it. And I did. I got one of Kyle and his eventual bride, and they got that for a wedding present, but I didn't post it. And I still have it, and I'm not going to show it to you because it was sweet, and it was their moment. But it was such a great photo that I keep forgetting that I didn't post it so everybody could see it. Sometimes it works, is the point. Maybe there was one in 2016 with Sid. You see what I'm doing here? I'm killing time so that y'all can tell everybody that we're about to get to the burn night photos, right? Crafty. I'm always going to be grateful to Sid for this one. We couldn't have choreographed it better if we tried. But I was just standing here, and he just so happened to put that torch right where I needed him to. And you see the burlap and the blue, and it's beautiful. And the insinuation of the red pots in the background. Here's one that I did post for everybody, so you can see the point that I was trying to make. Sometimes it works. Sid and his now bride. Sometimes it works. So, anyway, there those are. Let's get back to this year. I'm just now seeing some of the chat messages. Clay asked, where does Walton get the flame? The flame that we saw Walton walking in with, remembering the totally crappy, out of focus, long distance garbage shot that I took of the blurry flame in the far distance when I was way back over here and the torch was way over here. Anyway, so that flame comes from Austin. Walton goes down to retrieve the flame from Austin, the eternal flame in Austin, and they bring that flame back to Bonfire, and then they, put that flame on the torch, and then that torch is what they walk in. The legend goes that this dates all the way back to when Walton was an athletic dorm, and the athletes being top flight, highly tuned machines, couldn't come out and build Bonfire the way the rest of the students were because they had to be healthy to play football games and stuff. And Bonfire has a tendency to keep you from being at your physical best after it's beat the heck out of you on Saturdays and Sundays. So that didn't keep the athletes from wanting to participate. And again, this is the story. And there's I wouldn't be surprised if it's romanticized. I wouldn't be surprised if it's absolutely true. But this is what we've always known. The athlete said, "You can't keep us from doing what we do, though, and we're athletes, and so we run." And so they went to Austin and lit the torch and ran it back to College Station. And when they did that, and word got back of what they were doing, the Red Pots said, "Damn, like that's unbelievable, and you get to come inside perimeter." And nobody else was allowed inside of perimeter, just a former upper leadership in the VIP circle, but Walton was allowed inside because they were the athletes that did this extraordinary thing. And to this day, that is why Walton brings the torches in and why Walton is allowed inside of perimeter when they bring the torch in. It's a nod to that commitment and that gesture of anything that I can do to support Bonfire, I will do it, and I will find a way to help build Bonfire. It's a nod to that as much as it is, well, more than it is to any one dorm. It's not a reward for the dorm. It is a harking back to a really, really special gesture from many, many moons ago. So anyway, that's the long story. So at this point, the torches have been brought in. They are on the date lap, and again, I take a lot of these photos, the lap photos, just so that hopefully some of them are going to work. It's just really hard to get them. Stuff like this happens. It's really hard to get that exposure right under limited light. I like this one. It's hard to get that right, and so I take a lot of them. And admittedly, a bit of a spray and pray approach. And here we are, stepping off again, one final step off to the final laps, and terribly underexposed is the Walton New Boys getting tight. Something that, and we'll see some other photos later that illustrate this 2020, the whole 2020 paradigm extended to burn, not just in the number of people that were there, or rather the lack of people that were there. And in part illustrating that point, we see the one vendor tent, one single vendor tent. Usually there's vendors all around. That was something that was instituted, that we started trying to introduce back in 2011, 2012, where when we realized that we were trying to get everybody to show up early because of the parking situation, because of the road situation, it's a whole domino effect that happens if people try and show up at the last minute and they want to show up just for lighting the torches. It causes a cascade of traffic that is insane, and hasn't been seen since 2009, 2010, about then. The first year that we were out here, we learned that lesson the hard way, and traffic was backed up all the way to University on Highway 6. I mean, we're talking borderline state emergency. And so in responding to that, after having asked, can everybody show up early, the decision was made to, what, let's make it free to show up super early and super cheap to show up early, and not cheap to show up late. And that had the effect of controlling traffic. But then what that also did is that brought a bunch of people out early, and there was nothing to do, and there was nothing to eat and drink. So vendors were instituted to help deal with that. But now here we are in 2020 with one vendor, because there's 800 people. Again, by county order. So another one of the, I'm going to look at this. I'm not publishing this photo, by the way. It's garbage. But I'll look back at this and go, yep, this is 2020, because there's one vendor. This is they've finished that last lap, and now as they walk, they're going to start splitting off. Stopping at their respective spots. Bingo. Good gravy. Oh, that's money. Ha! Oh, man. That's just too damn cool. I'm really happy with that one, if you can't tell. I mean, that one's a good one too, but there's something about this one. I think, well, I know what it is. It's the fact that you see others, right? So it's not just him alone. You see others stopped as well. But again, this one's also very good on its own. And so we see also, I'm at the same exposure here that I am here. But what has happened is what was scaring the heck out of me all the way back here, for stepping off with the moms, because they stepped off with the moms and they enjoyed brown pots, green pots, junior red pots, red pots. They all enjoyed the heck out of this walk, and they took their time. And I was sweating, because those torches, I had no idea how long they were going to last, but it wasn't going to be forever. And so we can see that some of the torches were doing well, and I'm at this exposure here and we're getting enough light. But then come over here and we see this torch, it doesn't have much longer. This is still a great shot. I'm still happy with this one. Very happy with this one. I'm big on not necessarily being able to see everything, that making your mind have to fill in what it is that you don't see is something that I enjoy, and the effect that it has when you're looking at a photo, because it makes you part of it, because you have to think about it. I don't want to color everything in for you, but point being, same exposure here, and you can hardly see anything at this point because this torch is about to go out, and that's not the only torch that's about to go out. So they're about to march up. And I'm checking in on something here to see if I'm going to be allowed to say something. There's something I might be able to say that'll be cool. But I got to make sure that I'm allowed to say it. If not, I'll make something else up, and you'll never know what it was that I was thinking. So they're about to march up. Everybody gets in their corners. They're all checking with each other, and somebody's going to give the signal, which is that spinning of the torch like a windmill, and everybody out in the crowd says ooh, and then they start marching forward, and everybody gets all motivated. And here he is, walking up to the first sheet. Stack has got sheets affixed to it, and the sheets are soaked with kerosene, and then eventually soaked on top of that with the jet fuel. You know it's jet fuel because it's red. that's how you know for sure that it's jet fuel. So here he is, lighting that sheet, and I always try to get the shot of the sheet going up, and in the hope that I'll wind up with a red pot silhouetted against a sheet that's catching fire. And I'm not sure that I got it this year, but I try to do it anyway. He had moved off to the side, so best laid plans. This is getting close. In the meantime, while he's lighting this sheet over here, on the other side they're lighting the other sheet. So the stack is starting to be lit all around. After the seniors light the sheets, they're going to back off, and we're going to see them throwing torches to it. I'm hoping that even though Michael has moved off to the side here, that's actually, he's caught the sheet. He knows that the sheet is going, so he's throwing his torch up. One of those is going to work. I didn't get the cool silhouette, but definitely one of those does the trick. You see the torch in midair. It's hit Stack. It's landed on top there. Nice toss, and now he's turned around, and he's getting ready for that moment I talked about earlier. He's got to wait for his juniors to go throw their torches. Here Jackson is throwing his torch. This is Chris over here getting ready to throw his torch. Jackson's looks like he's made it all the way up to the top, if I'm following the trail of sparks there. Again, one of those is going to do the trick. Chris still has his torch. Looks like he's waiting to find a spot to land his. And she's going. She is definitely caught at this point. Chris has tossed his torch in the background here. Again, 2020. You can see the road. There's less than one layer of people on this side of Stack. No, no, I was wrong. Now Chris has thrown his torch. There we go. Somebody over here got a cool shot at Chris throwing his torch. I see two or, well, at least one camera working. And now, this is what Kyle was looking for. This is Jackson, and he is now headed to go claim a pot. So Jackson's taking off, and here's Raza. I believe this is the other Chris. Raza's got a pot. He's wearing a pot. He's got a pot. There's more juniors this year than there were seniors. So Raza is holding a pot that somebody has to take from him. Um, I'm I'm getting responses to that message I was telling you about. I think it looks like I'll be able to tell y'all something pretty red ass. There he goes. Chris is engaged Raza, and I'm trying to get over there as quick as I can. I was parked over there in that corner trying to see who I was going to get a beat on first, and it turned out it was Raza. So I'm trying to get over there to Raza and Chris um, for the taking of the pots. And so I'm running over there as fast as my fat body can take me. Um, and there's Raza wasn't giving up easy. He's making him earn it. And so this happens every year. And more of the people in attendance got to see it this year. Um, there they go. Um, so Raza's fighting him off. He's gotten his pot. And now here comes Jackson. I had thought Jackson was going to be going after Michael. I don't typically coordinate these in advance. I just kind of let them go where they're going to go. And usually it's pretty obvious because there's a pretty close this many juniors, this many seniors. You know who's going for whose pot, but this year was a little bit different. Uh, uh, Jackson is clearly going after Raza to get that pot. And there we go again. Poor Raza. Poor Raza's got to take on two juniors. And this is a cool little cool little thing. This is a trick my dad taught me, and I wish I could tell you I was doing it on purpose. Um, but I wasn't doing it on purpose on this occasion. I did it on purpose once. Um, I don't play around a whole heck of a lot with trickeration, but I did. I believe it was 2019 when I did it. We'll see real quick if I can find it. But it's this technique again. My dad taught it to me. The reason why my website is dion-c.me is there's another Dion McInnes who's a photographer, and that is my dad, and he's a lifelong, legitimate um, outstanding photographer and has taught it internationally, taught it at every school that he's been an administrator at, was taking photos when 6 years old. I think he started taking his first photos. So um, it's really, really good. And so I use Dion-C to help differentiate between the two, which we learned was a necessity when somebody called my dad from an art gallery in Austin and asked him if he could set up a photo exhibition. And he asked them, sure, what would you like? The black and whites, architecturals, the nudes. What do you want? And they said, the your bonfire stuff. So that's when we learned that there's confusion, and so that's why we used a different name. I thought it was 2019 that I did this, but I guess it wasn't, or maybe it was, and I'm just not finding the photo right now. I'm gonna try a couple more, and then I'm gonna give up, and I'll show you what it was I was talking about in this other photo. Maybe it'll make sense. There's one of the red truck coming down the tractor path, and I'm taking a picture of the front of it. I was standing in front of it, and I zoomed in real tight while it was moving. I'm probably just missing it. All right, so we're going to get back to business here. What's happening here is that this is happening, and I'm zooming in the lens while this is happening, while I'm taking the picture. And you can do this on purpose, and you can get this effect. I just so happened to do it on accident and got the effect, and it works. It really works here. But you see, there's not just the motion blur of them moving. It it's almost like a meteor shower. This effect that it's coming at you. You almost feel the movement, and that's from changing the zoom while I'm hitting the shutter at the same time. And I wish I could tell you that I did it on purpose, but I did not. But it still worked. And again, here's where I wish that there was more light, because that's a hell of a shot. If that was in focus, holy moly. I mean, there's still some artistic merit to this. But this is probably going to be the one I use. It's beautiful. There's a good question that just came along in the chat now. And I would like to answer that question on the record for everybody who might be for everybody that might be paying attention, any bonfire motivated Aggies who are looking to continue what was done this year as far as recruitment and retention. It was an outstanding year for both. The question was, is Bonfire able to advertise on campus? And the answer is absolutely yes. That is absolutely allowed, which is very, very different. That's a very, very different feel than when I was a student. And not to pull that whole back in my day game, but the fact of the matter is, back in my day, that was frowned upon and actively discouraged. And we got letters on people's doors saying bonfire's not a tradition. Stop saying that it is, which was insane. I mean, if you think about it, that's a really dumb thing to say. But that's what some people said, and whatever. We're not in that era anymore. We're in an enlightened era where people appreciate that Bonfire is the leadership school at Texas A&M unlike any other. There is nothing like Bonfire for the lessons that it teaches in leadership and being an active member of your community, of selfless service, of sacrifice, of digging deep, of discovering wells of motivation and capacity within yourself that you had no idea existed before. More people, um, more people are appreciating that, and while uh, it can't be embraced, and I don't think that it ever will be fully embraced, and I don't know that it should be on campus. Um, you know, Bonfire requires the sort of commitment and the sort of work that in this day and age, you, you just can't expect higher education to say, hey, we're behind this 103%. But um, uh, you, what you are seeing is this is your time. You know, you're a student. You are entering into the adult world, and you're getting to make adult decisions. And if this is how you want to spend your time, then you can spend your time this way. And if you want to encourage other people to spend their time this way, then it's their decision whether or not they want to do it or not. And we can't tell you that you can't share this opportunity with other people. So you can talk about it on campus. You can recruit people on campus. This year they did away with um, chalking on the sidewalks. They did away with that for everybody. There was no chalking allowed on sidewalks anymore because people were using the railroad chalk that doesn't wash off the sidewalks. Bonfire didn't do that, but um, up until there was a ban of sidewalks, Bonfire could go and chalk the sidewalks if they wanted to. So there's been lots of conversations about, okay, what can Bonfire do? And there's nothing that any other organization can do that Bonfire can't do. Um, the free, free speech areas, the open access areas, basically any organization, Habitat for Humanity, anything else that's going on in the community has the ability to go on and say, hey, this is what's going on. Bonfire has those same opportunities. So if you're a motivated participant and you want to help motivate other people, nothing in the world is going to prevent you from doing that. And anybody who says that they're going to prevent you from doing that is speaking out of turn. And if there's a question about that at all, if you've got any concerns about that at all, um, I'm free. Come talk to me, and we'll talk about it, and we'll get it worked out. And I'm not the only one, but I'd be happy to come talk to your dorm, your outfit, your organization, whatever it is. And again, I'm not the only one who's going to do that. And nothing in the world can prevent you from sharing the motivation of Bonfire. That's what it's about at the end of the day, is taking this motivation beyond this perimeter here and taking it out to every Aggie and every person everywhere. So I'm really appreciative of everybody who has taken that enlightened position and who has embraced the opportunities that Bonfire affords and who has made it so that Bonfire can go out and share those things. And if there's anything that I can do to help you and what you want to do to motivate your people on campus, off campus, doesn't matter, let me know. And again, I am far from the only one. So anyway, um, uh, that's that. That answers that question, I think. So we're back. Stack is lit. The pots have been claimed, and we are now having a yell practice. And we see the stack starting to catch. Now there was a moment of fear, a short few minutes of fear here that there was not last year, but the year before, 2018. The fire caught. It was looking beautiful. The flames were going. But this one side of stack the side, unfortunately, facing the live stream cameras was not catching in the same way that the other sides of stack were. And in 2018, what ended up happening was that it didn't build up enough heat to catch the entire stack on time, right? And so there was flame going for hours and hours and hours. And it wasn't until 4 a.m. the next morning that enough heat was generated to dry off all of that extra water. It was a very, very wet year, and all the logs have been sitting in water and mud for months. And it wasn't until 4 a.m. that enough of that water had dried off that the whole thing caught. And so there was for some people who, like myself, who were around in 2018, who were looking at this situation, there was this, oh my gosh, I hope that it catches those logs. But we're going to see here pretty quick that it caught them good. And taking this moment to illustrate something else that we learned in 2018, the legend has always been, if stack stays up past midnight, if center pole stays up past midnight, then the Aggies are going to win the game. And in the modern form of Bonfire, it has become the stack twist before midnight, and we're going to see what the twist looks like. Not every year are we able to get a good shot of the twist. I think we got a good shot of that this year. We'll see what I'm talking about when I say twist. But in any event, the point is, there's always been this legend of a connection between the conduct of Bonfire when it burns and the outcome of the game the next day. And so 2018 was the year that Bonfire burned, and then it looked like it went out. It looked like it wasn't going to work. It looked like it was going to be a disappointing burn. And then many, many hours later, when so many people had given up on a desirable outcome, the whole thing caught, and it burned down, and it was a success by the morning. And so that was an interesting roller coaster for everybody that was involved. And of course, 2018 was the year that the Aggies played LSU at home, and it looked like it was not going to be a good outcome. In fact, the opponent had started to celebrate because it was almost guaranteed that it was not going to be a good outcome. And then the Aggies found a way to rally back and make a game of it. And many, many hours later, the game turned into a success. And we won that football game in historic fashion. A perfect parallel between burn and the conduct of the football game that Burn was aligned with. Similarly, this year turned out the same way. There was a short moment of what's going to happen, and then shortly after, it was very, very clear that this was going to be a very good outcome. Now, here's the thing, and now's where I'm going to go ahead and say this thing, and I got the responses back. So you've heard it here first. I'm going to say it here first. It'll be posted to the social media channels. It'll be posted to the website. It'll be posted wherever, lots of places. But you see, here's a torch. This is one of the torches that lit this stack. We've got a dead red pot who has collected this torch while the other red pots are over. They're changing into their new coveralls. They're changing out of their old ones. The transitioning is happening way back over at Como as everybody's getting into their new uniforms. The seniors' uniform is now just jeans and boots, and they're back to regular life. The new seniors' uniforms is the black coveralls. So all that's happening. Deads and brown pots are out here cleaning up, and there was this stray torch that had lit one of the sheets, that had lit this beautiful stack in this historic season. and it when it got thrown after it lit the stack, when it got tossed, it missed the stack. And at this point, the stack was getting so hot, even here in the shade, it was getting so hot that there wasn't a safe way to get this torch that had lit stack uh, back on the stack. And with the yell eaters around it and everything, that wasn't going to happen. So this torch ended up getting put out, and it ended up getting placed somewhere, and and momentarily misplaced, and nobody knew where that torch went. Well, I went out there to look at stack and check stack site out after burn, and I found this torch. So I found it, and and uh, and I put it in the back of my truck, and I brought it home. So it's safe, uh, safe from burn night and wherever it was that it disappeared to. I made it back home with this torch that lit stack, and we've been sitting on it and looking at it and wondering what to do with it. Um, Geez, I'd love to keep this torch forever as a piece of history. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna auction off this torch. This torch right here. I don't know if it'll be a silent auction, a live auction, whatever. But Bonfire is going to auction off this torch that lit Stack 2020, and the proceeds of that auction. I'm not auctioning it. Student Bonfire is auctioning this torch. The proceeds of the auction of this torch are going to benefit Bonfire 2021. As we can see, as we've talked about, there was a lot of stuff that was going on with Burn Night 2020. It wasn't open to the public by county order. It's the public event and the parking and all these things associated with the event that generates the revenue that builds the next bonfire. So, there's a lot towards building 2020 that is missing because of the decision that these Aggies made to burn on schedule and give every Aggie around the world something normal, even if it was only just a live stream. A lot of revenue was lost, making it very hard going into the next season. So one of the things that will happen is this torch here is going to be auctioned to benefit Bonfire 2021. You heard it here first. You'll see it coming out on social media and those other channels over the next few days. So anyway, I'm super motivated that I got that word, and right at the right time too. Right when we were about to get to those photos. That's really cool. Moving on. Here's more yell practice. Now, what has happened, and there's a question here, how have donations been? I can answer that question. The donations have been strong. I've been really, really impressed and really, really motivated by how many people have stepped up and helped donating towards Bonfire 2021, appreciating the work that the students have done in this year, getting across the finish line the way that they did. It's been really moving and really motivational. So it's been good. I don't think that it has matched up with what Burn Night revenue on a big event looks like, but it's been really good, really strong, and really I just it's saying a lot when anybody donates and gives to Bonfire in a season where they can come out and they can look at it and they can experience it and feel it. It's really cool when people donate under those circumstances. It is something else entirely when somebody can't come out. They're not allowed to come see it and feel it and be around it. And instead of letting that demotivate them, when that causes them to double down and say, I am now more motivated than I've ever been because you need me and I'm there for you. That's an incredible thing, and we've got a lot of incredible Aggies who have stepped up and um, uh, and dug deep and taken 2020 as a challenge and said we're going to make 2021 happen. Um, but what we're looking at now is a yell practice, and these are the fish yell leaders. Now, fish yell leaders go back a long time. In fact, the first yell leaders were fish. It was a gag that the upperclassmen made the freshmen go out and entertain everybody, acting like goofballs in janitor uniforms. And and when they figured out that people really liked this and that these freshmen were getting all kinds of cool attention, then the upperclassmen said, "No, forget that. We're yell leaders," and so the yell leaders became a position for upperclassmen. But there were still, after that, fish yell leaders were still a thing. It was a kind of a fun opportunity. Um, and Bonfire has brought that back with fish yell leaders leading yells at burn night. And, these yell leaders are chosen and they get a crash course in leading yell practice. And, and they get out there and they get after it. Now, um, when we did it, we led yell practice. Us Gray Pots led yell practice in 2003, and it was a horror show. It was the worst. We were awful at it, and that's hard for me to admit because I was a yell leader candidate before I was a Gray Pot, and even having a modicum of understanding of how to do the yells, uh, we sucked bad. And after that, in 2004, we actually had former yell leaders come out and lead yell practice. That was great. We weren't able to repeat that, and so I believe it was then, maybe it was a couple years after that, I don't know, that the fish yell leaders came back. And it was actually a former yell leader's idea. This former yell leader who is familiar with fish yell leaders also recognized that having fish yell leaders come out and goofballs and madmen come out and lead these yell practices, um, that would be the sort of thing that would eventually motivate somebody to say, you know what, let's let the professionals come out and do this. So until that point, it's a hell of a lot of fun. And as you can see, people are getting after it. Now here's the stack fully, well, almost fully engulfed. We still have this dark side here. But it's catching. There's more of that side is caught. And at this point, it's pretty clear that it's only a matter of time before it's going to catch the other side. And a little blurry. That's not working. That's not working either. That's not working either. There we go. You can see the flame starting. It's now into the interior. It hasn't caught to the exterior of this side yet. He's still leading yells. This wind is coming across. It's blowing from the south, almost due north. It is starting to get smoking hot in here. Even standing on this side, there's so much wind being pumped into this stack that even when I was standing over here and the wind was blowing over my head towards stack, it was still hot. So there was no doubt at this point that the whole thing was going to go. So what I did is I got myself in position to take a couple photos, one of which is going to be the donor photo. So as long as I've been taking photos, I've been taking the donor photo. And this is the photo. If you walk into any establishment and you see a framed photo of Stack on the wall with the little white number at the bottom, Bonfire 2020, Bonfire, 2010, whatever, you know that is a business that has um, lent support towards building Bonfire. And so most of my shots are in landscape form, but I try to get a few in portrait form at just the right time to uh, represent everything for the donor photos. And so that's what those are. Somewhere in there is going to be your donor photo for the year. And these were cool. There's the outhouse going. Josh, if you're on, there's all your hard work. Oh man, that looks good. That looks good. Only thing that makes an outhouse more beautiful is an outhouse on fire. So there's a few in there that I'm going to have to pick from. After taking that, I wanted to catch. I looked down and I saw this. Uh, uh, the I don't know what this was. I mean, there was dust, but there was just this uh, steam, mist, something coming off the bottom. I'll give Josh a couple more there. There's a couple more for Josh. But so I looked down real quick, and this is when it started to hit me that this was an incredible burn. That the energy being produced by this burn was creating some cool stuff that I hadn't seen. Whatever this was, I've never seen this happen before. But there was this swirling and this almost this steam and fume and this is dust, and there was just it was turbulent is the best way I can phrase it. It was crazy down there, absolutely nuts. With all that wind coming in, and that wind was pumping oxygen into this thing like crazy, and it was starting to suck in heat. Um, it was creating it was feeding off of this air that was blowing in from this wind until it wasn't feeding on it so much as it was sucking it in. It was just really incredible. You can see it here. This wind sweeping here down along the bottom as well. This trailing. I don't know, man. I'm hoping that when it's all said and done, these photos will all kind of capture what was going on. But it was cuckoo crazy in there, man. It was so nuts. Let's see if this one pans out. You see that this rising. This is dust that's been kicked up, but it's being sucked up at the same time once it gets up towards stack. I'm trying to catch the swirling of the dust down here as well. Just a really crazy burn, man. It was just so incredible. And I hear that it played out pretty well live. I hope that it did. It was bananas. This is so much fun going back through these. Good grief. Oh man. So from that, all right, now I'm turning my attention now back towards the browns and the baby browns. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's a lot to try and remember to keep up with. You get sucked into what the fire's doing, and then you remember that there's other stuff happening around you too. And so I'm getting the browns and the baby browns uh, in their corner. Oh goodness. And then there's the newly minted senior red pots standing in front of their fire, having their photos took. And oh god, I was not in position for these, so I'm running over trying to get in some kind of position, and, and I might have did it. I might have did it. I might have got where I needed to be in time. That's cool. That's cool. All right, I'm happy with those. Um, I don't know if you can tell, but they are not feeling it. I mean, they're feeling it, which is why they're not feeling it. It's hot as hell. And they're between me. I'm in their shade, and I'm freaking baking at this moment. And I know that they are not. They're waiting for me to hurry up and get this darn photo took. I I was happy to have gotten in position to take these. I'm happy now with some of these and how they turned out, but I don't have the shot of the night. I don't believe. I believe Jordan Klepser has it. With these boys, when I was all shaky and running over here trying to get in position, I believe that they had just wildcatted. I believe. And Jordan Klepser had got that shot. He was standing right there when they did it, and it was a hell of a shot. And so then I show up and trying to get a couple of them, and I know that in the process, those poor boys were baking. Here's a shot though. Oh yeah. I don't know if you can see that. This is the red pot log. There's red pot stitching flame on the face of that log. I took a few of those. I don't know. It might be the first one's the best. You can see it a little bit there. I really do think the first one turned out to be the best. From the looks of it, I took about a couple dozen trying to get it. It's not too bad either. But you see it there. If you know what's there, you know what that is. But there's red pot. There's red pot burning into the side of that log. Man, that's outstanding. I'm one of those. One of those is a winner. That's really outstanding. Joshua just pointed out. He said he was trying to take a video and see how long the outhouse burned, and it got so hot that his phone overheated, which is something that I worry about with my camera, because I wanna get in position and get a good shot, um, but I'm also afraid I'm gonna bake my camera, and so sometimes I have to shoot as long as I can, and then when I touch my lens and when I touch the body and when it feels, when I'm touching the things that were exposed that my hands weren't insulating, and when the camera starts to feel hot, I'll turn around and I'll try and shield it for a little bit, let it cool off. Here it was the Yo Boys had asked for a photo uh, with Stack, and I told them that I'd take their photo, but that it would not work out because the light was behind them. And I think one of them said, "I don't care." So we did that, and then I got on the other side of them and took the photo with the light from Stack hitting them. So we'll get them these. here's more of that wind. And here I like the crispness of the flame. I like to get the texture and the depth of the flame. But I'm playing around here with exposures that try and get the movement of the flame, which is a different look. I don't know. I don't know if I'm completely crazy about it, but it has the effect, right? I mean, I've got to sit still when I'm taking this so that you can still see this clear, but also catch the movement of the flame. And I don't know. It's interesting. It's not something I've done before, but now I'm starting to fall back here. I want to. That was a cool look with the wind. It was illustrating what was happening that night, but I'm also trying to fall back here at this point and get that same shot in the way that I'm used to getting it, which is with the texture and the detail and the depth. And we'll see which one of those I use. I might end up using one of the ones that's different. But again, illustrative of what was happening that night with the wind. I'll point out too, at this point, it is, yeah, so this says 9:12. I believe that means it's 10 o'clock at this point. My camera time is off. But the Shel Winkley, the local weather guy, and I mean I like to call out people who take the tools that they have and use it in a helpful way, in a useful way for Bonfire. He had sent a message, hey, heads up, this is what the wind is going to be doing, and this is the time that the wind is going to start doing something very, very different. And it turned out that he was very right. There was a lot of wind coming from one direction, and just as he called it, the wind was going to shift dramatically later on in the night, and it did. I believe I was packing up about the time that it started to shift, but everything that he called is what happened with the weather that night. I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot. I'm going to be kicking myself for this. I'm just freaking furious. I came up to get the outhouse falling to pieces. And I'd been waiting there for like 2 minutes. And then somebody said something to me, and I turned around to answer them or say something to them. And when I turned back around, what I got is what you're seeing. That's the moment, and that's the moment that the outhouse collapsed. I had my freaking head turned, and I'm so freaking mad about that. Ugh, nuts. So I wasn't in position. I wasn't prepared. Nothing. Now, I mean, you saw it took 7 or 8 shots before I was able to get back to what I needed. I mean, I got one halfway there. And the thing about taking photos on burn night is you've got one chance, right? And then the next time that you're going to have that chance again is a year away. And so, again, part of the process of reviewing all these photos every year, or after every shoot, is to kind of take notes on, right, this is what I need to do better next time. And, yeah, this is definitely something I need to do better next time, because I missed it. I mean, this is still, don't get me wrong, this is still cool. But I missed what I wanted, which was that hollow carcass falling apart. Oh well. That's kind of neat. You see the hollowed out framework there. And this is what's left of it, having fallen off a stack. It all fell there. Now, I'll probably post that one, and some people will know what that is by looking at it. They'll know that that's the remains of the outhouse having fallen off of the stack. A lot of people won't, though. Some of the photos that go up, really, they make sense to the people who were there, or the people who know how Bonfire works, and that's okay. Not everything has to be completely obvious. So now, the stack is at the stage that uh, this almost kind of regressive stage, right? We looked at it 48 hours before, and that look of stack that I said that I enjoyed so much, which is the stack all by itself, and there's nothing attached to it, no more ropes and nothing, and the outhouse isn't even up there yet, and it's just the stack in its completed form. And so this is kind of that regression that happens on burn night, where at a certain point the stack is back to its original form. The outhouse is burned up. Obviously, there's no ropes or anything, and it's just the stack by itself, which is fun and a cool look. This is another look. I'm going to be sending this one, or maybe posting it on um, my personal Facebook. But again, my old participant pot and my old lady's participant pot. These two pots back together again at Bonfire for the first time in almost 20 years. Now I'm going back at this point. Um, at this point, no, I'm out at my truck. I went back out to my truck, so I'm northeast. I'm in the northeast corner by Cookie Shack and Shirtle over there. Um, I believe at this point I had just taken the family back to the cars so that they could go home. Um, but catching this from this angle, which I've caught it from this angle during stack, and so I'm probably going to go back and see if I can get some overlap between this same angle, this same position where I park every time, and that angle with it burning. Now I'm on the north side, facing south. We see ABT back here, and we've got a really thorough burn at this point. I mean, everything is fully engulfed, and that's the other thing about this. I mean, this just stayed fully engulfed. There was no smoldering stage. This was just burning hot and heavy for a long time. And I think here pretty soon, maybe I'm jumping the gun. All right, so what I'm getting here is trying to get here is the ashes, the embers rather. There were a lot of embers, um, and with that wind blowing, um, it was shaking a lot of embers loose, uh, and so that's a cool look. The embers coming out of stack. So that's what I'm trying to get there. I think we're also getting pretty close, possibly to um, to this kind of hollowing out that I haven't seen in a long time. It's been years, and I don't think that I ever caught it on camera either. These are cool. That's just that wall of flame. Yep, here it is. So here I'm trying to get. There's photos that I get that frankly, I just want to. This looks cool, and I want people to see it. Or sometimes I'm seeing something here, and I wonder if I can take a photo that captures what it is that I'm seeing. And sometimes I want to take a picture that just illustrates how well they're doing their jobs. Kind of instructional, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Is catch the guts of this fire. This is deep inside of it. We're going to see some pictures for some other angles. At this point, I'm thinking any minute it's going to twist. We see how much is exposed of the interior. These logs have burned down a good bit. You see center pole here is being reduced to embers pretty quickly. There's a lot with all these ashes or these embers that are coming out. There's a lot that indicates that the structure is getting ready to twist. You see a lot of embers are shaken loose from stack when the twist is near. I was telling Texags that when you see these embers coming out, you're almost to the twist. They had been out there a long time, and there was trying to figure out if do we keep the stream running, how much longer does this thing have left in it. I felt like it was going to twist any minute, but it held off the twist for a long time. Again, illustrating how well it was built. Here we've got one of the windle stick poles is no longer attached to a windle stick. The windle stick has burned completely through, and the structure is still standing, which is it's pretty incredible. We see, all of the windle sticks were covered up by third tier logs, and so much of the structure, the interior logs have burned away that as they've fallen in or completely burned off, the outside tie-ins, the metal tie-ins, are now fully exposed here. Again, such an even burn. If it wasn't an even burn, it would have already twisted at this point, but it was burning so hot that it was burning completely evenly. And here I'm trying to get, and it being just brutally hot, even at this distance, I'm trying to get what I'm seeing on the inside there, which is, and it's hard to focus too because of the heat waves and the movement. This log that you're seeing here, this inside exposed face, this is an inside face of a log on the other side of stack. This is looking completely through stack. This is hollowed out. Everything on the inside has burned out, and so now you're just looking at a shell of stack, and I'm looking through a hole and I'm trying to focus through all these heat waves and the movement of the insides. I'm trying to maintain a decent focus. I'm not sure if I got it, but what you're looking at is the far wall of stack through stack. It was nuts, and I pulled a few people over there to come look at it. Again, this is another one. This is the far wall. You see a superset cable here, another layer of superset cables here. all of the wires accumulated from stack. I'd never gotten a look like this before, and I'm really hoping that there's something in here that worked out that illustrated that point, that really unique thing that had happened there, with that complete hollowing out that you could see. And here they're beginning to throw their groads onto the fire. You know, when you're finished, you take your groads and you throw them into the fire, never to be seen again. I'll let you in on an inside trick. We did that too. We threw bags of our groads on the bonfire. Yet somehow I still have my groads, and so do many other people that I know. And the reason why we have our groads is we threw bags on the stack, and those bags had clothes in them. You know, as is traditional, throwing your bags of clothes on the stack. And we made them look like we were throwing our groads on stack, but we didn't. And there's a lot of people that did it that way. You throw bags full of other stuff onto stack, and you keep your groads to eventually gross out your future spouse with. At this point, I'm sort of kind of trying to see who's going to quit first, me or the stack, because I'm tired. Now, here's something I was trying to catch. This window stick here was being super heated. I mean, as all of them were. But in just this distance from here to about here, there was so much heat that this big, thick pipe was bending under its own weight or the pressure of these logs on the outside. There was a significant bend in a very, very short distance. So it's not like there was a lot of leverage working on this pipe. It was just this very, very short distance that was doing it, which illustrates just how freaking hot it was. But I do like, going back to what I was saying, sometimes I want to take photos that illustrate the work and the thought that goes in the diligence of the design and everything. That's sort of what these are. I don't know if these would be considered to have, I don't think, artistic merit. But to me, they illustrate this metal cross-member construction, the wires, the superset cables. It's all there. And it's a structure that is now fully compromised. There's nothing in here. This is all open. You're seeing here sort of that interior heat hitting this collapsed, caved in, hollowed out wall, and the structure's still standing. That's freaking nuts. So I think of all of those shots trying to get this hollowing out and cavitation and everything. I think this is going to be the one that that winds up illustrating the point that I'm trying to make the most. This one is on the west side of stack. You can tell because I can see the green pot trailer back here. We're getting to that point. We're almost to the twist. Almost. And I'll take this opportunity too, here being one of the last live streams we're going to do of Bonfire 2020, the last live stream of Bonfire 2020. And with this shot here, seeing the lights here in focus or in frame, I'm going to take this opportunity to bring all those together and remind you that you can support the gallery at patreon.com/DeonCGallery. I think I've got it. The link there in the bottom right. Um, but your support of the gallery makes it possible to continue to take these photos and put the equipment through what the equipment has to go through, and ideally be able to keep up with uh, new equipment that helps me better tell the story. And in exchange, I try to offer some perks um, that show you that I appreciate your support. Patreon.com/DeonCGallery. There's all the details there. Um, and I mentioned that with this photo because what I want to do for next year is if we can generate the support for the gallery portion in time for 2021, the first thing that I'm going to do with the support is not do anything with my equipment, not, that we'll get to that. I'm going to buy Bonfire lights. And they've got some lights, don't get me wrong, they've got lights, but I'm going to buy them a set of lights, all from the same batch, all from the same manufacturer, and they're all going to be the same color temperature, which is going to be so nice for me, but also for them. And then what we'll do with these extra lights, because most of these are still good, is we will turn them out into out towards outside perimeter to light up the log fields and the skids. So support the gallery at patreon.com/DeonCGallery. Let's see what we can do. And like I said, we get that lined up. I think I've got it set at 8. If I can get 8 patrons for the whole year, I think that gets it where I need to be, to buy Bonfire new lights for all of the perimeter light poles, and then they can take the lights that they already have and light up the skids with them, and hopefully help the productivity out there on the skids, and then make it so that I don't have to spend 3 hours for every hour that I shoot trying to deal with lights that aren't the same color temperature at stack. Win-win. Moving on. There was a question, do I know what happened at center pole raise with the core lights? I think somebody tripped over a wire. I think that's all that happened. Somebody tripped over a wire, and it was loose. Clay asked a question, is this site the forever Bonfire home? I mean, nothing's forever. So, when Bonfire started off campus in 1907, I'm sure people thought this is where we're always going to be. This is where we're always going to be building it. It's off campus, away from all those fuddy-duddies on campus. And then by 1907, it was on campus in Simpson Drill Field. And I talked to Aggies many years ago when I was a student. I talked to Aggies who had built it on Simpson, who said that it Bonfire was on Simpson Drill Field, and that's where Bonfire was, and it was different when they moved it to Duncan. And then there's people at Duncan who swear that it was different when they moved it to the polo fields. And point being, every generation that's building Bonfire, wherever it is that they're building Bonfire, there's this belief that this is where it's going to be forever. And I think history has shown us that you just can't count on forever. So, for right now, this is outstanding. But you can stand out at Stack now and see what we hadn't ever seen the entire time that we've been out there. I've noticed it. I don't know if these students have noticed it, but there's light. there's light all around. Service station, uh, businesses, an industrial park off this way, the service station off this way. There's so much that's growing up around here, that um, uh, the area is changing, and then it just becomes a question of how fast is it going to change. But for right now, it's great. I mean, it could definitely use a wider road. Um, Maybe we can do something about that. I don't know. Um, it's kind of the weird balance between developing and not developing. There's the smoldering, about to give way remains of center pole. As we get here into uh, very close to the twist, I'm going to answer this question here. What's it like being a board member? I mean, honestly, what it's like is I I don't know. I it's I enjoy most being able to just be an ear for the students, and sometimes I'll tell a story or two. Um, that honestly, if I'm being honest, most of the time it's to just distract, to take their mind off of whatever it is they're fixating on for the moment. Um, that Sometimes it just takes being distracted for a minute. That when you get back to what you were thinking about, you're thinking about it in the right way, and you come up with the answer that you need. Um, it's just a privilege to be around young people who are so um, squared away with such tremendous capacities, and to have the privilege of hearing what they're thinking, and 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 being able to kind of witness incredible thought processes, next level. I don't see it in most adults, and to watch these thought processes unfold in anybody, but especially young people. Um, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty motivating, and it's at every level of leadership that the students are bringing this to the table. And quite frankly, maybe I'm supposed to be an advisor. I mean, I know I am. But quite frankly, what ends up happening is, if they come to me with a question, in presenting the question, they come up with their own answer, and it's a damn good one. Very rarely do I have to solve anything for the students. Mostly what I do in that capacity as a board member is to just listen. And by the time I'm done listening, they've figured it out. Um, and and it's just then my job becomes reminding them that I didn't give them the answer. They came up with it themselves. So I don't know. It's I I think my favorite job is not necessarily a board member job, but my favorite thing is just being a witness. And here, what we're seeing here with these embers, with this light coming off like this, um, I am exposing a little bit more so I can get the outhouse, but I'm getting it at this moment where I'm up against the fence here. I'm leaned up against that construction fence, and I am burning up. I mean, this is painful right here. Um, but I'm trying to get this because nobody was standing over here. And I know that what was happening over here was cool. But nobody was standing there. So I wanted to get in a position and get this thing that some people saw it, but they walked by it in a hurry. There was a lot of people walking outside perimeter um, that saw this, but they didn't stay there for very long. And so, rightfully so, because like I said, this was painful. But I wanted to capture that. But what you're seeing also is with all these embers, you see the wind a little bit coming this way. Uh, this has now opened up and cavitated so much that, yeah, this is from north side, so this is kind of towards Cookie Shack. But this has now opened up so much that there's a lot of oxygen getting in there. This is now beginning to burn fully through. The ashes, the embers coming off so much constantly is telling you that there's structure inside of it that is now coming to pieces and falling inside of that the cavity there. So in other words, we're getting close to a twist at this point. Where a few minutes before we saw the center pole, this is the top of the center pole. We saw it standing there kind of alone as this smoldering thing, and now we see that the flames have climbed back up there again. So the fire's coming back a little, and we see the lean, right? So this is another indication that a twist is about to happen. Lots of embers. It flared up for a while there. A little bit more flaring here. The lean. We also see there's a lot of wind coming too. We're getting really close to the twist. We're still seeing that south wind. It was at this point, there was some shifting. It was starting to, the wind was starting to lose track of which direction it wanted to blow at this point. Closer, and I believe here, yep, there it is. We're starting to see the twist. This is, so when enough of it cavitates on the inside, when enough of the lean-in starts to happen, when enough of the superset cables have given away and the wires have given way, we saw here, where was he? There were these two Aggies down here. Oh, I saw him playing with his phone. He was on his phone, distracted for a second. There we go. So people are looking down at this moment. This is, actually, this might be the right time now. It might have fallen back to what time I had on my, I'm so bad at keeping up with the time on my camera. But fall back, yeah, so this is 11:40. Actually 11:40. And at 11:40, somebody's looking at their phone. They're talking to each other. 11:43 and 54. He's seeing something. You see him looking up. Now they're both looking. Something's happening. All of the embers giving way here. This shower of embers. This side has started to go at 11:43 and 56. Everybody's undivided attention at this point. Still 11:43 and 56. There it is. There. So starting at 11:43:56. We've already got a bit of a the twist is starting here, but it's really fully twisting inside of it. Now we're at 11:43:57, and look at their reaction in this bottom right corner. There. When it comes to one shot, that's the one that does it. Actually, maybe it's that one. But just a matter of a couple seconds. Just a couple of seconds. 11:43 and 58 seconds. And it's gone. Man. And really, this is when it twists, quite often there's so much more left of the stack when it twists. There's hardly anything left of this one. This was a hell of a burn. This was so cool. There's just, that is thoroughly burnt out. And you see what I was getting at when I said it was hollow on the inside. If there was more meat on the inside, this would be a bigger pile. There's nothing left on the inside. It collapsed on an empty shell. There in the middle, there's your center pole. And so now they start doing their laps. I believe this was a Squadron 17 butt pot. I believe is who that was. So, a traditional thing is doing your laps around stack. You do a class set of laps. Kruger's getting ready to do their crew yell. Yeah, y'all did a great job. This is a hell of a year. Hell of a year. You're going to remember it forever. I just can't get over how little the stack was left. That's just nuts. Again, this sort of dripping wreckage of wire. Look at that. Look at that superset cable. Glowing red there. That there is the collar. So that's what goes around center pole. And you can see here where it ties in, where those poles tie in. I mean, that's still intact. every year what's left of the collar and the poles, that the pipes that tie into it, every year it looks different. Some kind of Dr. Seuss spider thing going on. This year it was. I, I, my guess is because it was so hot that when the structure fell, the pipes were so hot that they just kind of flattened out. In other years, the collar can be, 6, 8, 10 feet off the ground when the arms are drooping, and then they hit the ground and they hold the collar up while the rest of the structure burns down. This year it kind of flattened itself out when it hit, and my guess is because it was so hot that it just everything just kind of laid down and flattened back out. And here's everybody doing their laps, and again, these are all crews. They've been working together all year. They're all going back to the same living quarters. So it's kind of funny to see. Usually there's an intermingling of different people from different crews who jump in with each other's laps um, uh, at the end, and kind of, I guess cross-pollinate the whole 2020 thing. Um, um, the whole 2020 protocol thing even extended to the laps on burn night. People were staying in their separate groups. Um, it's something to say for that discipline there. And there we go. We're getting into the last couple, and I'm getting what ends up usually being sort of my last shots if I can help it. And that is, people walking laps with the ABT behind, but there was some cool silhouette work going on here too. And the Corps doing their laps on a run. And I believe that's it. That's the last one of the year. The last of the first of 2021. The field is clear. As I said, I went back out there to Stack Site to look at some things afterwards, and they're already things are already starting to get in order, starting to get lined up for 2021. It's going to be a busy year. There's going to be a lot of catching up to do with respect to, uh, uh, getting people motivated to build 2021. Um, but also, to help build that support. So, again, I can't say enough about the people who've given in a year that Bonfire burn wasn't open to the public, but I was really impressed with how well people understood. This was a really challenging year, and the fact that these students were able to get to the finish is speaks very highly of the students, and that they carried so much support through the rest of the year, through burn, and even still through till now. Says a lot about how much people believe in the students. So, visit studentbonfire.com/support. Learn what you can do and what other people have done. Let that give you some ideas. Everybody has got a wheelhouse. Everybody's got skills that they bring to the table, things that they do really well, that chances are can in some way be useful for Bonfire. Um, a tool that everybody should have in their toolbox that always works for Bonfire is motivation. If you've got that, bring that. Whatever you can do to help support Bonfire, visit studentbonfire.com/support and help make 2021 happen. If you're motivated to help the gallery, visit patreon.com/DeonCGallery and see what you can do there to help with the photos and help continuing to tell this story. Or just visit dion-c.me and take the photos that is the product of these students' work and share it with everybody. Show everybody what these students are doing. Pass it around to your Aggie buddies. Send it to your clubs. Send it to your organizations. Show them what Bonfire looks like today, because in so many ways, I've mentioned it before. I've had an occasion where an Aggie was looking at some photos telling me that this was 84, 86, whatever it was, and this is so and so, and I know this guy, and whatever, and to try and tell them, no, this is actually just 8 months ago. This was, at the time, I think it was 2016, 2015 or something. That this is so common and so same as it has ever been, that people who were there 30 years ago look at some of these photos and cannot distinguish between these scenes and this experience that these students are living now and the one that they experienced themselves 30, 40 years ago. That's incredibly important. Again, speaking to the experience itself, into what these students are doing and carrying this experience out as authentically as can possibly be done, under their control, under their leadership, doing it the right way, and doing it in a way that is right for Texas A&M and everybody that loves it. This is incredibly important. So, share some of those scenes. Pass this around and share these students' good work. Again, studentbonfire.com/support as well. And let's get motivated. Let's build the hell out of Bonfire 2021. Let's make it happen. And stay tuned to dion-c.me and some of the social media channels. After we've reviewed all these photos here, I'm going to go through and develop the photos that we've picked and publish those to dion-c.me, and we will have the first photos of 2021 with the field clear, everything ready to build the hell out of Bonfire 2021. It's been an outstanding season, Aggies. Thank y'all so much for staying motivated. For those of you who built Bonfire, thank you for building Bonfire. Everyone that supported it, thank you for helping build Bonfire. Thanks for everything, Aggies. Motivating as hell. I appreciate the hell out of all of y'all. Gig 'em. Build the hell out of Bonfire 2021.